let's move to now we're going to go back to the clock.
We're going to go back to the clock.
Which you're going to stick around for. And this topic is people will say they're in love, which means Krasnov, which is, of course, supposedly Donald Trump's KGB code name, as revealed by the former foreign minister for Kazakhstan, article of which you sent me this morning, but I think he posted it on his Facebook page.
He posted it.
Saying basically, yeah, this guy was, and the Kazakh guy was working for the KGB in Moscow at the time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and knew that Donald Trump had been recruited and turned as a Russian asset, a Soviet asset at the time, while he was married to Ivana, daughter of the Czech intelligence guy.
Right.
Right. And he had a name.
Yeah. Krasnov,
who I had to look up. The what?
Beautiful boy.
Beautiful boy. I had to look that up. It was a writer in the old czars. I don't even know when. Like, you know.
But the derivative is from the word krasny, which is beautiful, nice, pretty.
Oh,
pretty,
really?
Beautiful, nice, pretty. Interestingly enough, Roy Cohn's nickname for you.
That totally tracks then, doesn't
that
it?
Tracks.
I told you he would know what it means.
There we go.
Beautiful
boy.
So what's your take on Trump being
outed?
We've been talking about this for years.
How many times has he been outed?
A lot.
A lot. I think he even outed himself several times.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Russia, if you're listening, they're always listening, dude. They're always listening. Well, what's your take on all of this?
Well, I'm not privy to any currently classified information, but I can tell you that one of the premier strengths of Russian intelligence, and remember, the intelligence services in Russia, they don't operate the way we think intelligence services operate. No, intelligence. Let's go out and steal some secrets, right? Russian intelligence deals with manipulation, subornation of agitation, maskirovka. So they are past masters at invading and exploiting the human psyche, weaknesses of any kind, and they're always on the lookout, for business people, real estate developers, fashion models, whoever, whatever. Academics are, oh my God, academics are a favorite target because
so easy.
The multiplier effect of the academic on inculcating new generations of innocents who come in, and they're all, in the West, I'm saying, right? So it's the three B's, the banya, the walk through the birchwood forest, and the bolshoi are the routine experience for the visiting academic, and to slowly seduce him into this, glorious Russian culture. But all of that being said, when I heard,
I think there's a young woman in there, or boy.
Hey, be careful. We don't want to say too much about.
We don't want to say.
We don't want to get mifsued. Sorry.
In 2016, this was such a singular moment, but at least it was for me. When I mentioned it to other people, they don't remember it. Maybe either of you two will. When we knew that Trump was going to be running for president.
Oh God!
And clear out of the clear blue sky, almost out of any context at all, he starts talking about, "Oh, I like the Russians. Shouldn't we be friends with Russia? What's wrong with having good relations with Russia?" Repeated several times on several occasions. And that was so out of character with the general context and framework of a discussion. It's like we're talking right now about the subject matter, and all of a sudden I'm going off and talking about golf, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
And what he said, how he said it, to me, he didn't have to say anything more. I knew what was happening at that point in time.
You knew what he was.
I knew what he was. I knew what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And if he was talking to any other audience other than a Western audience, and particularly, unfortunately, an American audience, and we're just not tuned in. Our antenna is not up
about it. Yeah.
That to me said it all. And And then obviously read a little bit more about his background, and he talked about his son. I don't know which one of them said more than once, well, there's a lot of Russian money,
Eric.
right? And I don't know whether I don't think the compromat that they have on Trump is I don't think it's sexual. I don't think it's these hookers pissing on Obama's bed and that's and everything with him in there or whatever the hell it was, because he thrives on that and the public doesn't seem to care. I think what it is, and it focuses, the hold also focuses on the narcissistic part of him and his own marketing of himself in terms of his financial acumen. I think what it is what his tax return would have revealed. Not that there would be a label next to an income number, but what it would lead to, and it would show the pervasiveness that what he, or at least his son or sons, admitted to being the Russian money that's involved and has been involved, and that
He's a laundry maid.
Okay. I
He
think
does the
that will.
laundry.
Excuse me?
He's just the maid. He's just the maid.
Yeah.
He does the laundry.
Yeah.
And who he does it for.
Right.
And what his it also once that's understood, I've done a lot of writing about this as well as Greg. Once that's understood, that's really what his business was, there's an understanding then that it really is just, he's just putting a name on something. He doesn't own a lot of those buildings. I know for a fact, one of the big things was that there was a large period of time where he had lost ownership of Trump Tower, and quite possibly his name. I think he was able to regain some of that. So God only knows where he's at now, but the mythology of Donald Trump, the businessman, Donald Trump, I built an empire, I'm so wealthy, that myth, once you understand that he was just laundering, he was a vehicle.
He's a laundry machine.
He's a laundry machine. He didn't have ownership.
Right.
And so, he wasn't building anything. And so the myth of who he was crumbles. They also held a lot of his debt. Like he could crush him through all those Deutsche Bank mirror transfers. So it is primarily, I agree with you. I think there's probably dirt everywhere. And I think, God only knows where it would.
It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both.
It could be both. But certainly it's the fraudulency of who and what he actually is. And how the myth would crumble if people knew, and the myth would crumble if they also knew that he was just an owned piece of shit. He's the shit on their shoe, right?
But look at the precise targeting of how you establish the leverage, right? When you look at the narcissism and you look at how he's hyping himself, well, what better way to keep a leash on him than the threat of that balloon bursting in his face?
Correct.
He will do everything himself to prevent that from occurring, and consequently will kowtow to you. It's not necessarily that, he's not an agent in the traditional sense, right? They're not telling him, do this, do this, do this. He is doing things presumptively in his own interest to save his ass, but it is done with the effect and with his knowledge that he is pushing Russia's interests.
That's right. And they're helping him find the words. They're helping him by surrounding him with people that can manage him through whatever process he needs to go through specifically for Putin's aims.